Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Sudan, where paramilitary fighters appear to have opened a new phase in the country's civil war after being driven from the capital, Khartoum. This is a move some experts have described as a shock and awe campaign. Just weeks after the army celebrated the recapture of Khartoum, the rival Rapid Support Forces, RSF, launched a series of unprecedented drone strikes on Port Sudan in the east of the country. This is a city that was once considered a relatively safe place. In recent months, the paramilitaries have stepped up drone strikes on critical civilian infrastructure and army-controlled areas. That continued on last night with attacks on 3 power stations in the city of Omdurman, which lies across the Nile River from Khartoum, and this has led to worsening power blackouts, as well as city residents facing water shortages. The RSF has not directly addressed the Port Sudan drone attacks, but it has repeated its assertion that the Sudanese armed forces is supported by Iran, accusing the armed forces of targeting civilian infrastructure and state institutions, and also calling the military strikes on Khartoum and RSF-held areas in the west and south of the country. Well, joining us now for more on this is Sani Aliyu, his channel's television Sahel correspondent, who is currently in Accra, Ghana. Hello, Mo. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Layo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. I mean, this is just weeks after the army celebrated the recapture of Khartoum and the Rapid Support Forces launching series of unprecedented drone strikes on Port Sudan. How is the city faring currently?
Well, I must tell you that initially the attacks on Port Sudan were a bit of a shock to the Sudanese army, and that is the army that is running the government in Sudan. Everybody thought that Port Sudan, being on the on the Red Sea coast, was a very safe place to be. Nobody factored in the fact that drones would be used to such an extent, and therefore the attacks in the city have crippled life as we know it in Port Sudan, which is, by the way, the temporary capital city of Sudan right now. All the government ministries, all the parastatals, all the agencies of state are presently in Port Sudan. Now, schools, hospitals, and public utilities have all been affected negatively, and nothing is working right now. There is a lack of electricity in about half of the city. This is the situation right now, and a lot of civilians have been caught in the crossfire, so to speak, because the drone attacks were not only limited to areas around the airport. There are actually 2 parts to the airport. The main airport is the civilian airport that has been used to evacuate people out of Sudan. Nigeria used the airport when they evacuated its citizens back in 2023. But there is also a second part of the airport, which is the military side, where they have military aircraft, and there is a very big armory which was actually the target of the attack in the.
Mo, you've covered Sudan for a long time. Is there a reason, perhaps, why these warring factions are yet to come to the negotiating table for peace in the country? Okay, it seems we have lost Mo's connection. We'll try to reconnect with him. In the meantime, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House next week. Late on Wednesday, Pretoria announced that President Ramaphosa would be traveling to Washington next week, and on the agenda is a meeting with President Trump. Relations between South Africa and the United States have been strained for months now since Donald Trump took office again as president of the U.S. The 2 countries have repeatedly clashed over the U.S. plan to resettle white South African farmers. And back in March, Washington expelled the South African ambassador, Ibrahim Rasool, over critical comments he made on the subject of the Trump administration. The reported visit comes after the U.S. welcomed dozens of white Afrikaners as refugees this week, following widely discredited allegations made by President Trump that genocide is being committed against white farmers in the majority black country of South Africa. In the meantime, the White House is yet to comment on the proposed meeting, which would be Mr. Trump's first meeting with the leader of an African country since he returned to office in January, if the meeting happens. We're modernizing existing rail networks, expanding into rural and underserved regions, securing multilateral funding for regional projects, and unlocking opportunities for local SMEs in the rail supply chain. Now, these are just some of the key topics under discussion at the Africa Rail Conference in Johannesburg, South Africa. The event has drawn over 150 speakers, 5,000 attendees, and 500 guest buyers. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, has more.
The Africa Rail Conference brings together rail industry leaders, government officials, and private sector players from across the continent. South Africa's Minister of Transport, Barbara Creecy, underscored the importance of public-private partnerships to tackle the issue of funding and investment. The minister says progress has been made in modernizing Africa's rail infrastructure over the past years.
When I look at the 12 themes that are going to be discussed during the course of this conference, I am convinced that this event is taking place at an opportune time for South Africa and the African continent as a whole. Rail transport is crucial for efficient and sustainable logistics, impacting both the movement of people and goods. It's particularly important for long-distance freight, potentially offering efficiency, cost-effectiveness, and of course environmental benefits.
Mahola Makololo, Business Development Executive, Aslon, says harmonization of rail standards across the continent can positively impact the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
Corridor, we can talk about the Gautrain. Once you do have that level of certainty around political risk, financial risk, the certainty of recovering your investments, I think the investments do flow into the country.
As conversations beyond the Africa Rail Conference continues, the message is clear. Collaboration, investment, and standardization are key to unlocking the full potential of rail transport across the continent. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Nigerian business mogul and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, was among those who exchanged pleasantries with American President Donald Trump during his visit to Qatar. Mr. Dangote was introduced to Mr. Trump during the American leaders' meeting with the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Following his arrival, Mr. Trump and the Sheikh participated in a signing ceremony for a significant agreement between Qatar Airways and Boeing. The deal, which involves the purchase of up to 210 Boeing jets valued at approximately $96 billion, making it one of the largest orders in Boeing's history. The visit also drew attention after Qatar offered a luxurious Boeing 747-8 jet, estimated at $400 million, intended as a potential replacement for Air Force One. This gesture has sparked bipartisan debate in the United States regarding the ethics and legality of accepting such gifts from foreign governments. Back here in Nigeria, the Lagos state government has launched a new health initiative called SWIFT Project. The initiative is to support women's increased access to family planning through pharmacies, patients, and proprietary medicine vendors. The Director of Family Health and Nutrition from the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Folashade Oludara, says the project offers a practical and scalable solution to the persistent barriers that limit access to contraceptives.
In Lagos State, the maternal mortality rate currently stands at 430 per 100,000, a figure the state government hopes to reduce to 37 per 100,000 within the next 3 decades. As part of efforts to provide access to healthcare services for all citizens, the state government is collaborating with the federal government, partners in the health sector, to launch a new initiative called SWIFT Project, geared towards supporting women's increased access to family planning through pharmacies, patient and proprietary medicine vendors.
As we all know, family planning is not merely health intervention. It is a transformative development strategy that empowers women, stabilizes family, reduces poverty, and significantly improves the health outcome across our communities. The Ministry of Health remains fully committed to supporting this initiative through strong policy alignment, regulatory oversight, and multi-sectoral collaboration.
Partners of the SWIFT project in Lagos, led by the Society for Family Health and joined by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, speak on the objectives of the initiative, which is part of safeguarding the lives of women and children.
This project will go a long way to expand access to family planning and primary health care services for women in Lagos State. And hopefully will also bring about women economic empowerment, because we'll be supporting a lot of women to own their own premises and operate them profitably.
Scaling proven healthcare interventions to expand access to marginalized areas, facilitating access to innovative financing solutions for women-led cooperatives, digitizing healthcare operations and improving access to telemedicine services.
SWIFT, which stands for Strengthening Women's Initiatives for Family Planning, is also a multi-sectoral initiative focused on empowering women through improved access to reproductive health services, and is also designed to help achieve universal health coverage.
We can actually integrate pharmacies and PPMVs into bringing them into the healthcare system in Lagos, and of course into the health insurance scheme. So this, of course, is one of the other ways in which the PPMVs and the CPs have very important roles to play.
This program will not only impact on vendors and the CPs, but also on the improving the health indices of our states, Lagos State.
The program manager of the SWIFT project says the initiative targets underserved communities in the area of healthcare services.
The SWIFT project is looking at a consortium of industry catalysts. Only the critical stakeholders that can help move the industry forward. But we're not looking at making anybody rich. We may not be able to do that. But one thing we want to do is to ensure that in underserved communities and women that are running these services, they are economically empowered. Their lives is very innovative. They will be willing to transform the project. They will be willing to go into new areas and even move along the value chain, sir.
The SWIFT project, already launched in Kano and Kaduna, is a 3-year program, and Lagos, being the 3rd state to kick off this initiative, will go the extra mile to enhance women's health and socio-economic well-being, which aligns with Nigeria's national priorities on gender equity and women empowerment.
An appeal court in Mauritania has sentenced former President Mohamed Abdulaziz to 15 years in prison and also imposing a $3 million fine, escalating a previous 5-year sentence handed down back in 2023 for corruption charges. The former military general, who rose to power through 2 coups before serving as president from 2009 to 2019, was found guilty of money laundering and illicit self-enrichment. However, Mr. Al-Aziz's legal team has dismissed the charges as politically motivated, alleging they stem from a falling out with his successor, President Mohamed Ghazouani. Wednesday's ruling also cleared 6 high-ranking officials from his former government, but upheld a 2-year prison sentence for his son-in-law on charges of influence peddling. United Nations Human Rights Office is expressing concerns regarding Egypt's new Code of Criminal Procedure, which was recently approved by the House of Representatives and is now pending presidential approval. The UN Human Rights Office spokesperson Tamim Keaton says the Commission has closely followed the passage of Egypt's new Code of Criminal Procedure and is worried the provisions of law will grant public prosecutors broad discretionary powers related to pre-trial detention, interception of communications, and travel bans.
We have raised concerns over provisions of the law that will grant public prosecutors broad discretionary powers related to pretrial detention, interception of communications, and travel bans. The law would also provide for other measures adversely impacting the right to effective legal representation and on accountability for the conduct of public officials, including law enforcement personnel. Last-minute amendments were reportedly made to the draft law before it was sent to the President for his approval. However, these changes have not been made public, raising concerns about lack of legislative transparency. We call on the President of Egypt to consider carefully the proposed Criminal Procedure Code in light of these concerns prior to granting any assent, in order to ensure that it fully complies with Egypt's international human rights obligations.
Hundreds of health workers in Kenya continue to demand an end to delayed hiring, unpaid wages, and what they term unfair treatment after years of unfulfilled government promises. In Nairobi, health workers staged a protest claiming government promises made in April to resolve their grievances within 3 weeks were never fulfilled, igniting a wave of demonstrations. Meanwhile, the national government announced that from the 1st of July, salary payments for universal health insurance workers will shift to regional authorities. And this is a move the health workers warn could worsen their already precarious situation. Kenya's medical personnel have voiced frustration since 2019 over stalled hiring, missing pay, and harsh working conditions. Although the government has repeatedly pledged to resolve these issues, most promises have gone unmet, fueling continued protests and unrest.
Here today on a peaceful demonstration because currently, with the first couple of months, we have been on streets demonstrating because of what we term as unfair treatment from the Ministry of Health. We were subbed under contract from 2019 under the USC program, but up to now we haven't been confirmed to permanent and pensionable terms. Our gratuity hasn't been paid for the past 5 years, and that is what we demand as from now.
We demand that we be put on permanent and pensionable terms. We demand that we be given our service gratuity, because today, as you can see, we have carried our flags because we have lost 44 universal health coverage workers, with the latest one passing on this morning as he was coming for these demonstrations through a tragic road accident. So we are here to say we are not going back to work until they give us permanent and pensionable terms and our service gratuity.
We fought COVID. Now it's high time the government to fight for us. We have challenges. We work with people, same shift, same workload, but different pay. In fact, to get half of what they paid, we don't have any medical cover. We don't have any. We don't get study leaves. We can't get any other, we don't have allowances, yet we work the same.
6 naval ships and 2 helicopters which participated in this year's Joint Maritime Exercise Obangame, an initiative of the U.S. government, have returned to base after a successful exercise. The exercise, declared flagged off by the Chief of Naval Staff, represented by the flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Michael Oamen, offered participants an opportunity for joint operation with the Spanish Navy on combating small arms and light weapon trafficking, as well as anti-narcotics operations. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
The Gulf of Guinea, a vital artery, but also a hotbed of illicit activities. Here, multinational forces converge for exercise Obangame Express 2025, a high-stakes showdown against the tide of maritime crime. From aboard the NNS cutter, where the flag-off takes place, the mission is clear: a decisive action against the flow of illegal arms, fueling instability and narcotics trade poisoning communities.
So what we have done is to ensure that we reduce to the barest minimum, incidences of piracy. And thank God the international community have recognized that, and that was why we're delisted. So that's, for me, a plus.
Obangame Express plunges sailors into intense, realistic scenarios. The Nigerian Navy unleashed its might, warships slicing through the waves, helicopters acting as vigilant eyes in the sky, and the elite special boat service demonstrating their precision and expertise. Alongside them is the Spanish Navy ship ESPS Relapango. This reinforces international solidarity in securing these vital waters.
As you're all aware, maritime security involves collaboration because the waters do not have walls or borders. So Obangame Express provides the opportunity to improve synergy between the Nigerian Navy and other navies and coast guards within our region.
From the southwest of Lagos across various intense operational sectors, the combined force hunts down simulated threats, honing their skills for the real fight, and the verdict by the officer in tactical command is positive.
We conducted several exercises. First of all is interrogation of the foreign or unknown vessel. It went very, very well, and all the exercises that we are expected to do, we did them. The objective has been achieved.
While the exercise has been concluded, the echoes of Obangame Express 2025 will resound throughout the Gulf of Guinea with a strong message that the region is united and ready to defend its waters. Chris Illems, Channels Television News.
In a bid to build trust, confidence and strengthen bond between communities, as well as with United Nations peacekeepers amid political and security tensions in Upper Nile, South Sudan, a friendly football match was organized at the Protection of Civilians site, where thousands of displaced families have sought sanctuary since civil war erupted in 2013. While these activities are not part of their usual duties, Rwandan peacekeepers participating in the match say it's an important way to demonstrate their commitment and care for the people they serve, with hopes of engaging communities through a shared passion for sport and celebrating their diversity while embracing a common identity and sense of unity.
So this is a football. I'm very glad for this wonderful match that is kicking off in Maracan POC. So this one, I like it because when you play a football, this one will create a strong peace among us. So I will appreciate the runners. They used to come to play outside. Let them keep this one. Our message is to tell the people that is our friend, they are our friends,
We are here for them. We are supporting them.
Engaging in such activities bring the youth together. It also helps to help them to identify role models within their peers and also within the community. It brings us together in a way that will only not focus on our role as protection of civilians, but also engaging in activities that help the youth and support them to develop and grow to be respectable people in their society.
You are the future of South Sudan. I've watched you play. There's so much talent among you. You are faster than a gazelle, faster than a leopard. I've seen you running, and the way you pass the ball. I thought I was in, what is the Arsenal Stadium called? Emirates. I thought I was at Emirates Stadium watching you play.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.